This is WSBK TV-38 Boston. I'm Peter Wiggins for TV-38. Good morning, it is Wednesday, June 7th, 1981. Here are the news headlines. For nearly 3 years now, Alexei Semenov, the 24-year-old stepson of the Soviet descendant Andrei D. Sakharov, has been trying to get his fiancée, Liza Alexeva, out of the Soviet Union. So far, his attempts have failed. Yesterday, however, Semenov, with a barred ring and high hopes for the reunion in the near future, and Alexeva were read by proxy in Butte, Montana ceremony. Montana is one of the few states that recognize proxy marriages provided by a judge to satisfy the opposite party is unable to attend and has given his or consent. Ed Klein, editor of the New York City amateur magazine Chronica Press, was Alexeva standing at the ceremony as proof that she had given consent. Klein produced a power of attorney form signed by her and notarized in Moscow in February. Semenov, a resident of Newton, Massachusetts, borrowed a wing from a court reporter and placed it in Klein's hand. And the district judge Arnold Olson read the marriage vows. When he made neither you may kiss the bride, Olson said at the end of the ceremony. Semenov told reporters at the civil ceremony that he feared that Soviet authorities would not recognize the marriage or allow his bride an exit visa. I don't know how much attention the Soviets will pay to this, even though it is recognized as a legal marriage under international law, he said. Semenov first met Alexeva 25 in 1975, when the two were graduate students at the Moscow State Pedagogical Institute studying mathematics. They eventually fell in love and made plans to marry there after graduation. A graduate student in mathematics at Brandeis University, Semenov is a stepson of Andrei D. Sakharov, a pioneer in development of the Soviet Union's hydrogen bomb and a Nobel Peace Prize winner who has become one of the country's best-known spokesmen for human rights. Sakharov was removed from Moscow by the Soviets on January 22nd, 1980 and sent to exile in Gorky, a military industry city, in an attempt to silence his protests about human rights. Persecution of the young couple, Semenov said in an interview at the sister and brother-in-law home in Newton last week, is part of a campaign to isolate Sakharov to use us as pawns. Washington, underdog. Dimming in light of the hot Sunday sun and using advanced electronic technology to pinpoint their targets, Israeli warplanes dropped several tons of ordinary bombs on the Asrak nuclear reactor near Baghdad and in 2 minutes left it as a pile of rubble. The raid, which Israel announced Monday, took the Israeli crews over more than 1,000 miles of hostile Arab airspace to their target. Although details of the mission were still scarce yesterday, the flights apparently involved months of preparation, tests, and subterfuge. The pilots apparently used Arabic to communicate so they would not alert the enemies and a thorough knowledge of the French-built nuclear complex outside Baghdad. The Israeli operation appears to indicate an extraordinarily detailed knowledge of the layout of the $260 million Baghdad nuclear complex, which was about to be completed about more than 5 years of planning and construction. The bomb's signaling with 70 megawatt reactor, which was not online yet, in the midst of a small 1 megawatt research facility in the complex. At the press conference in Jerusalem yesterday, Lieutenant General Raphael Eltan, the Israeli chief of staff, said the damage to the main reactor complex seemed to be complete, but Israel had no evidence of damage to the core. U.S. intelligence sources, as well as authorities in the nuclear industry and the regulatory bodies here, said the Israelis had not yet destroyed the $100 million plant, but had severely damaged its concrete shell, which has knocked off at its foundation and onto the side. They estimated the damage of $25 million to $30 million. Washington, where the United States scheduled to deliver 4 more F-16 fighter planes to Israel on Friday, the Reagan administration prepared yesterday to deliver a quick presidential report to Congress on Israel's air attack on an Iraqi nuclear facility and the storm of reaction that the raid touched off. At the Department of State, the Pentagon, and then the National Security Council, technical and legal analysts were pulling together details not only on the raid, but also on the status of U.S. weapons scheduled to be shipped in Israel's armed forces. The Senate Majority Leader Howard H. Baker, Tennessee Republican, told reporters that he expected President Reagan's report to be sent to the Congress within the next day or so. Jerusalem invoked memories of the Nazi Holocaust. Israel Prime Minister mentioned beginning more than less than if it was built a nuclear reactor to produce atomic weapons, Israel will use all the facilities at our disposal to destroy their reactor. Rejected wave of international criticism set off by the Israeli raid against the reactor. Begin warned that Israel will not tolerate any country, Arab or others, developing weapons of mass destruction for use against Israel. In toughly worded response to the question posed at crowded news conferences, here begins that the Israeli Air Force attack Sunday against a 70 megawatt nuclear reactor near the Iraqi capital of Baghdad was conducted in supreme legitimate self-defense. If the nuclear reactor had not been destroyed, Wiggins said another Holocaust would have happened in history of the Jewish people. Another Holocaust would have been in the history of the Jewish people. Never again, never again. All the raid came in the midst of an election campaign, and political leaders represented the broad spectrum of the views rallied behind the government in support of the raid. Begin, flanked by his Army Chief of Staff, Air Force Commander, and Chief of Military Intelligence, also disclosed further details of the surprise airstrike. A color videotape made during the raid was shown Monday to the members of the cabinet, but the Prime Minister's office said it was unlikely the film would be released. Begin and his military aide said that Israeli jets flew more than 1,000 miles to their target, apparently avoided detection until they did it. A Suffolk Superior Court jury yesterday convicted 3 doctors of rape and of pregnant women's nurse last September 6 in Rockport. The jury deliberated 7 hours. The panel of 7 men and 5 women acquitted the physicians of kidnapping. Conviction of rape carries a maximum sentence of 20 years. Judge Walter E. Steele allowed a defense motion by Attorney Joseph J. Bullough on behalf of 3 defendants and delayed sentencing until June 23rd. The defense lawyers said they will be filing the motion with Steele asking him to set aside the verdict of it as being against the weight of this evidence. The defendants, Dr. Eugene Cherry, 27 of Back Bay, Dr. Eric Hussein, 30 of Wall Fame, and Dr. Alan Lefkowitz, 30 of Wall. Jamaica Connect will release on personal bail. Sharon Hussein were on leave from the Anthropology Department of the Brigham Women's and Lefkowitz, a member of the medical staff at St. Mary's Hospital in Waterbury, declined to comment on the verdicts. When the verdicts were announced by Judge Joseph E. Blacknall, Hussein and Lefkowitz showed no emotion. Shayaver held his left arm with his right hand and shuffled his feet nervously as waited the jury's judgment. As I said, District Attorney Timothy P. O'Neill said he was very content with the verdict. I think it was very seriously well considered verdict on the part of the jury. We are quite glad, he said, that's the way the system works. They said the word disappointed that the jury failed to convict on that. The city is preparing to end its mutual aid agreement in Boston with fire departments in 33 other municipalities as a result of a city council attempt to block all cutbacks of Boston firefighters. The council acted an amendment to the city's public service laws that permits mutual aid agreements. I believe when Boston has at least 1950 uniformed firefighters that is payable will have very serious adverse effects to the safety of the greater Boston area. Fire Commissioner George Paul said in a telephone interview yesterday. There are currently 1,069 uniformed firefighters in Boston's department. 1,950 in the approximate number that was on the force before Proposition 2.5 and state production began. No firefighters have been laid off yet, but the city and union officials have projected that to 550 layoffs will occur in the near future. The force reduction to 216 that has occurred in the 8 has been achieved by early retirement incentives and a policy of not replacing firefighters that have been resigned. Fire chiefs of the neighboring municipalities have said interviews yesterday, as the White administration is prepared a budget that may call for laid up to 550 firefighters and 650 police officers, according to the city officials. 2 years after he vetoed the legislation would have outlawed the use of non-returnable bottles in Massachusetts, Governor Andrew J. King is examining this position at issue. Environmental Affairs Secretary John A. Burke said yesterday and then on Friday he and King will study the operation of several recycling plants in Michigan, the only industrial state that has the top of the bottle bill. John Morris, a King's press secretary, said yesterday that during a meeting with members of the League of Women Voters last week, the governor said he no longer believes he did when he vetoed the bottle bill in 1979, that the measure would be adversely affect the state's image with the business community. King's major concern was about the measure now, and Morris said it was whether a bottle bill and the bottle washing plants would require. The reported 20-25% savings in the Parliament Medicaid project in Massachusetts are believed to be illustrated having resulted from a computer error. Whistles on and only weapons that 30 people in South Boston neighborhood who have formed a patrol against street crime and take turns serving as lookouts. The House passed in 265-122 legislation aimed at curbing court-ordered busing for school desegregation. House Democrats are drawing a sharper line between themselves and Ronald Reagan by stressing tax cuts for lower and middle-income families over the President Reagan's plan that would have benefited higher-income families. A compromise is in the works with the Senate Labor and Human Resources Committee that would retain federal controls in many cases on where the federal money for the social services is spent at the state level. Hungary is a socialist land that plenty with a strong currency, but in all socialist countries to try to get what you want, you have to be ready to pay a tip. In the first negotiation since the Soviet grain embargo was lifted, the United States agreed to sell the Soviet Union an extra 6 million metric tons of grain. Alright, Boston weather here. For today, a mixture of clouds and sunshine. Chance of showers and thunderstorms toward evening, highs in the low 80s. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms likely low around 60 degrees. For tomorrow, sunny skies high about 70-75 degrees. Boston temperature approaching the 11 o'clock hour at Logan Airport. We have 73 degrees. Dew point about 40, humidity 30%, barometer 53 inches. Visibly, winds northwest about 14 gusts and 23, mostly clear skies. And that's me for the TV-38. Mid-morning news on this June 10th, 1981. Previously, but for a good day, I will see you later on. Bye, buddy.
Home health care is a personal choice, and as a senior, it's important that
Tonight, it's the Boston Red Sox taking on the Seattle Mariners live from Seattle. Tonight, 10:30 p.m. on TV-38, WSBK-38, Boston.